Oh, right. We're here at the closing thoughts. Um, so obviously, hold up. Anyways, but basically, last time, obviously, we rounded up the bonus, and now it is time for my thoughts about Omori. So through speaking, let's get some like little before math kind of before math words in here about Omori. Generally speaking, I was excited to play this game, but didn't know how I would feel about it considering that this was a psychological horror game. And that's the only really thing that I heard about it. And I saw a trailer for the game back last year when it came out, and it launched on Steam, obviously. But generally speaking, I did not play the game till I think October during the month of Halloween. So I found it pretty fitting to start it on this month, especially after finishing up No More Heroes, um, and kind of delving into this game. I really did enjoy um, the experience of this one. Typically speaking, I was a little skeptical of how I would feel about it because it's a psychological horror game. I didn't know how it was going to brutalize me. But generally speaking, if there's a kind of a couple of games, well, let's just compare one. Doki Doki Literature Club. If I'll say this right now, I wasn't very scared during Doki Doki Literature Club because it was a visual novel, and while it definitely is haunting, um, I didn't really feel much about it, Doki. So going into this one, I was going, and there's also a couple games, but going into this one, I was I was curious. I was interested of what Omori was going to do, and while I was skeptical to see if it was really just another kind of like boring psychological horror game, that while I like psychological horror, well, more so, I'm not a big fan of horror, typically speaking. I'm probably going to say typically a lot, but I'm not a big fan of horror. I never found horror to be my cup of tea. Not because, like, okay, let's say there's a bit of scarism in there. But yeah, generally speaking, I never like watching horror movies because I think about them too much, and I don't like that. I'm not really into that. And I've mentioned that I kind of have, fear. Well, not necessarily fear, but I hate getting bad endings because I hate seeing characters in distress or having bad stuff happen to them, even for the villains, because that's generally how I feel, I'm more of a calm, happy-spirited guy. Um, but yeah, aside from that, taking through kind of my lesson through here, and this game's amazing. Yeah, this truly was a journey of a game. To really kind of deep delve into it, Omori is definitely not like its others. Sure, it's an RPG, but it is a very unique one, in my opinion. I feel like the coherences of Friends and, kind of like the Tyride, but the absolute construct that this game holds between psychological horror and its fun little things, this game is fucking depressing. Um, Overall, my kind of I was within the game kind of start to grow more as I play through it because it sure is a ride and I recommend it to y'all. But anyways, let's talk back to it. Simply put, for what I feel, kind of, let's start off with God, there's a lot to say here. Let's start off with the gameplay. Um, yeah, typically, because the characters in the story have so much to do, I I feel like it would be better if I talked about the gameplay first, and kind of the things you could do. The gameplay is nice. I like this gameplay, or I like how the game mechanics and stuff. Follow-up attacks are done here really well because they are strategized up skills and stuff, really kind of cool. While this game definitely falls into the hands of cheese at quite a few fights, Pluto is a big example of this. There are also occasions where the emotion system is done so well, and with the pacing of the gameplay of the enemies in the game and the leveling scale, there are also a few fights where it's typically where some ideas don't work well. In this case, the Sweetheart fight, you can't really stay mad because Sweetheart inflicts her happiness, and if you're unlucky, you get critted and you get shitted on. Obviously that wasn't really for me. I got super lucky with Sweetheart, but that's basically a princess of, I feel like Sweetheart is a good old, panicking situation fight, because no matter what, she will make it her way, or the boss is designed to make it a very hectic, well, more so intense, panicking kind of thing, because if you aren't lucky, she won't give a damn. But yeah. Other than that, that's kind of how I feel about the gameplay. The emotion system, like I said, really good. The neutral, the happy, the angry, and the sad, and kind of the leveling, and kind of like the levels of them each doing their own favor. And a game of rock paper scissors, which is usually the format. It does it really well, and while it's kind of odd, where it's like angry beats sad or sad beats happy. While happy beats angry is very understandable. I think happy definitely beats angry. I'm not sure about sad, honestly. Sad beats happy, which is kind of weird, I think. But it's whatever. Yeah. And angry and beats sad. Explainable. That's understandable. Yeah. So, through that and wise, yeah, the enemies are very cute. The designs are great. Yeah. Yeah, well, here, I'll talk about the art design soon. But yeah, the enemies are really cute. They're really unique. And overall, with the faux facts telling you of what they are, it's truly fun. The gameplay here is great. I really like it. Yeah, I think Omocat did really well with it. Now let's get on to the art design of this game. This is one of the most unique uses of art. Basically, drawing art, as it is obviously stated here, is the game's main kind of art, which is really cool. I love it. I think the art here is done supremely well. It really holds. It kind of shows kind of a lot of expressions, I would say, and really kind of There's a lot you could do with drawing art, so it's a great thing to know that it's used super well here. There's no real kind of issues within it. So yeah, that's really kind of cool. Let's then talk about the music. I don't know if I've talked about this actually in the Danganronpa closing thoughts and even the No More Heroes thoughts, which is kind of hilarious. But actually, probably talked about it in No More Heroes, but I'll have to check up on it again. Yeah, so the the music here is great. It does a great job describing your feelings and kind of this calm setting and kind of the areas that the music fits in with well. Obviously we cannot skip out on the boss music in this game. The boss music is done amazing. Thanks to Omocat, especially Pedro Silva, who is, I believe, who composed it. Not like Silva Gunner or Silva Gunner, but Pedro Silva. Unless if he's actually related to Silva Gunner. But yeah, Pedro Silva did a great job behind the music. The boss music here is definitely some of the greatest I've heard in quite some time. If I had to like compare it to No More Heroes, I'd say I'd honestly think Omori probably beats it out. Even if there are like some banger tracks on No More Heroes, which I think are very good comparisons. In this case, are we finally we are finally cowboys. I actually be hard to debate whether I like that or between that and World's End Valentine. World's End Valentine is a banger of a track. It is so good. I love the instrument, kind of like the rocking, the intense pacing between Worlds and Valentine. It does super well, and like kind of like how We Are Finally Cowboys uses like instruments very well. And while I can't really name much because I'm not, I'm not the greatest at explaining music. It's they are both amazing tracks, and they're very well good at comparing. And I would have a hard time deciding which one I like more. I think I still deciding which one I like more. But yeah, more into the music. Aside from the boss music that is there, the creepy use of instruments in the music is some of the most beautiful and depressing things ever. Music does so well explain your emotions, and it's definitely done well here. I think one good thing is there's Welcome Again, which is the Black Space theme, and then there's some depressing tunes like Goodbye Little Brother. But if there's one truly harrowing piece before eventually the sonically amazing other track, the Omori soundtrack, well, the Omori boss fight soundtrack, is so depressing and so beautiful. It really is a showcasing of demonstrating kind of, it's like it's taking you through your biggest fears again. The main thing why you're there, basically, which it does so well at portraying, and it's beautiful. And then there's the duet theme, which is so beautiful, and it's amazing, and I am deeply sorry for Sunny for, not being able to perform his piece with Marie. So, yeah. I think along with that, we then have obviously the credits track Good Morning, which is great. And it is the track made up for you to sing the lyrics too, which is really cool. And then we have My Time, or Oyasumi, which obviously is the track that I noted back in the bonus that I could not play because I believe there's a copyright claim on that track. So yeah, for sure, great track. It's amazing, but you're gonna have to listen to it for yourself. I don't think I can play that. But yeah, the music here is done super well. It's definitely one of my more favorite soundtracks of a video game that I've played, and yeah, I definitely recommend listening to all of it. So yeah. Now that we have the music and the gameplay, I'd say out of the way, let's have the the design. Let's have the world kind of design. So obviously, the worlds here are unique to their own thing. You have the vast forest, which is kind of this, which obviously it's kind of this, soothing little place, this area, but it also holds nightmares under it. It's a terrifying kind of journey. But yeah, that's the vast forest. And then up in Otherworld, which holds a junkyard and kind of everyone's belongings, and just a simple place to, you know, that is for the space and the skies, and it is a truly, you know, beautiful it's a beautiful area. And then we have the Pierfly Forest of the forest kind of area, which is another great one. It's kind of haunting, you know, and spiders there and everything else. So yeah, there's that. And then we have Sproutmold Village, which is a unique little cool place that leads up to Sweetheart's Castle, which is the another level, which, you know, obviously huge castle. So very, very, very big area. Um, I think aside from that, we have what I believe next up is the um oh yeah, so we have the Sweetheart's Castle, then her garden, which is another corner, and then afterwards we head on to the other big part, which is the Deep Well, which holds Mr. Jossum and the underwater highway, and eventually the Deeper Well, being one of the more kind of depressing and harrowing, or yeah, scary kind of areas, and then Humphrey, the big fucking whale. Yeah, overall, they're pretty cool areas, and I love the designs in them all. And yeah, I know that's not all the places. There's a snow level which I really wanted to go to, but it turns out it was optional. Yeah, it's kind of it's sad. Orange Oasis though is also optional, but you can go there as well. I think aside from that, there is the what else is there? I sorry, my eye itches. So yeah. But I think with that, that's really. Oh yeah, the real world. Um, the real world is one of the most interesting places because, simply put, it's reality. But obviously, reality seems to be kind of a little like reality. Um, and really kind of the depressing points, which I'll save for later. But the real world is the same as it's been, but it seems that a lot has changed, and obviously there's lots to do. So yeah, that's really kind of, you know, it for the two. So yeah. There's a lot more to explain in the real world when we get down to the characters. So, yeah. The characters are going to be a big kind of part of this, uh, game. Within the characters, there are a lot of people to discuss about in the game. Typically, there's so many characters that we kind of know a bit about them. So it's gonna be interesting to talk about them. So, um, I think through namely speaking, let's start off with some of the more minor ones that we know of. We have kind of the forest group people. We've got Burley, we've got Vaughn, we've got others left, but yeah. These little kids are obviously kind of like our or people that we play with, you know, at the playground in the Headspace world. And overall, it seemed pretty, you know, cool and unique and stuff like that. But yeah, they're pretty cool. Unfortunately, there's not really much to do with them to the kind of the beginning areas. But overall, they're definitely one of the more cooler areas, or they're definitely some of the more cooler characters. I don't know why I said areas. Please don't Please don't judge me for it. But yeah, then we have kind of the space crew and space boyfriend, or Captain Space Boy. Yeah, the space pirates, you know, having their little onslaught, having their little kind of terror or fear of them eventually losing each other, because there is, you know, there's really kind of like nothing much left they can do with with Captain Spaceboy. After being in a relationship that was broken within Sweetheart, and they're just worried that it'll eventually all go away and they'll have to move on and stuff. But then eventually we come in to kind of stop Captain Spaceboy's habits and stuff. And it's definitely an experience. It's definitely kind of, well, yeah, it's definitely interesting to see within this. Then we have Captain Spaceboy, obviously, who was the ex-lover of Sweetheart, and an interesting character, and the first boss. I think, yeah, technically the first boss fight of the game. A cool character that the cool character that kind of like saved us. Well, technically not technically saved us, because you really kind of well, more so put an end to something, as in the Sweetheart kind of ordeal after the Sweetheart fight. And but yeah, he then became her wife, and obviously that ended when he when when we found him in the submarine shop at the restaurant. So yeah, that's cool to know about. So yeah, that's interesting. The other thing, and then now we have Pluto, which is a really cool character. When he flexes, he feels his best. So basically, Pluto, we helped kind of get through to move on his own, and then afterwards we eventually fought him. Pluto is basically the big muscular and a very cool planet. He's a very flexible guy, and he makes his own transport, which I believe is the fast travel of the game, which we didn't use once, I will say, but I had a feeling that when he made his own transport, we went back and we headed through to the we knew that those places were going to eventually become fast travel places. They're in the first level, yeah. So within that, we have that little area. We have that character. God damn it. We have that character. And then we kind of came through within the boss fight of Pluto during the 1 day left segment, where we fought Pluto, and he does a lot of damage, and he eventually gets a lot of defense and health. But overall, he had a really cool fight. And I will say this, I'm not the biggest fan of his music. I mean, it's good, it's pretty good, but I would rather listen to other boss fights in the game. Or there are just more boss fights that I like more. But yeah, Pluto, pretty cool planet, Flexor planet, strongest planet when he's expanded. And yeah, that's him. So, now we have the what is next? I think that's it for that one. So then let's move on to the real world segment that comes after we beat Captain Spaceboy. Basically, next up is the segment where we come outside to meet Kel in the real world. Kel is a lot taller. He's gotten a big growth spurt, and he's playing for the basketball team. But we will talk about Kel more later. But yeah, let's go and meet about the Goonies of Aubry's kind of crew that she's found through. Basically, the Goonies consist of Vance, Kim, Charles, I believe, and we have that one we were kicking in the Maverick or Michael. Yeah, the Goonies are a little hilarious, and obviously they're into fighting and causing trouble, I guess. But it's really kind of because we will talk about her later, but mainly because, well, Aubry during that point, which is definitely something else. But yeah, that's kind of yeah, those are the Goonies and stuff. They cause trouble. Kim and Vance went to go steal candy, and Maverick, pays girls to support him, which obviously doesn't work well. And then we got the other dude who's just kind of a, he's a crazy little boy, And then we got Charles, who's just huge. And yeah. Then we have that painter kind of girl who we helped with on her kind of drawing and said that was really cool. We didn't really do much with her afterwards, but yeah, she's an artist and she painted something that she thought wasn't that great, but we like it because well, our characters aren't really painters. But I mean, I'm an art. I mean, I like to draw, but I didn't got to see her thing. And then we got that one dude who was, I think, the football. I'm not sure, the football or the cross country coach, who obviously he coaches and stuff, and he talked to us and Kel about basketball and stuff. So yeah, there's him. Also, I didn't talk to them, but the headspace things that popped up in the playground, in the real world. I guess they came around back, but yeah, I never talked to them obviously. So yeah, there's those people, and then we have the next kind of crew, and then afterwards, I think that's really it, cause there really wasn't much to say for. Then then we move on to the second part of the headspace, which is us trying to find Basil again, but we end up heading off and get distracted to meet the Pierrefly, or to head on to Sweetheart's castle. So obviously we have the Sprout moles and stuff. So there's not really much that I can remember of, but there's a lot of unique sprout moles. There's the spring, fall, summer, and winter sprout moles. I went for spring because I like the spring sprout mole, but because when you talk to the spring sprout mole, everyone else will kind of disdain you, or the other three will disdain you. Then we have the exercising ones that supposedly believe that they power up the thing when really it's just the plug-in. Then we have Mike the Sprout Mole, which is kind of a cool dude, I guess. But yeah, we have him. Then we've got what I believe is the I have an ad playing. Fuck. Okay. Yeah, I had an ad playing. That's sad. But yeah. Aside from that, we have eventually the what is it? We have Mike Spamels, and then we have Spamel in a washing machine, big Spamel, and then yeah. Aside from that, we've got what we're introduced to as Sproutmold is Harold, Theresium, Marsha, Theodore, I think, or whoever that wizard one was. And then the Maximus ones. Obviously, the Maximus are part of the bloodline, and then the others are warriors, warrior Sproutmolds. When we were thrown into the dungeon, and we defeat a lot of them. Then we have the Sus Chefs kind of deal, the line deal, the music kind of deal, and then afterwards we help out with that one girl who seems to be a big assistant of Sweetheart and stuff. And then eventually we meet the guards who hold the keys and stuff, or the password and stuff that we solve and figure out, which ends up leading to the which we are led to facing the the Sweetheart fight. We have Sweetheart, who obviously has a lot more to talk about than most bosses in this game. Sweetheart is very much in love with herself, but she strives to find a person that she loves and also loves her. But basically, she's grown into kind of this whole ordeal of just loving herself so much that it eventually is kind of like, I would say, the sin of pride. The pride sin, I think, fits well with her. But basically, she's very much in love with herself, which obviously gets her in a lot of trouble and stuff, to panicking when we beat her in her fight, and with the whole ordeal of her and Space Boyfriend, or yes, Cat and Space Boy. And obviously that doesn't end well. It actually ends super short. Okay, I got another. I got another ad. But yeah, we have that, and basically, I think aside from that, there is the I think what else is there with Sweetheart is that she goes to the deep well and causes more trouble, to which she meets the witch girls, that she asks for them to craft her kind of a replica, basically a carbon copy of her, which one of them probably succeeded very well with perfect art, but she said that it wasn't even as perfect as her, which obviously, yeah, with the sea witches obviously within there, and then eventually she meets her demise, and that doesn't bode well for her. So yeah, there's definitely probably more to talk about her, but she definitely is much more talked about than some of the other bosses in this game. Um, then we have, after that, we have the second world. What was the second world? Honestly, the second part didn't really have much characters that they introduced to us. Actually, no. Kel's parents. Basically, Kel's parents. Obviously, the mother judges him quite a bit, but the mother obviously having a younger sibling with Kel that Kel helps hang out with, and yeah, he helps out. But obviously, there seems to be some tension between him and her, or more so his parents. So yeah, there's tension between him and his parents that he just goes cold through. But obviously, compared to Sunny, who hasn't come out in ages, yeah. I think aside from that, yeah, the parents obviously very, very parentish, very real people. And yeah, it's definitely kind of an experience within that part. But yeah, that's really kind of it. Other than, well, us reuniting with Hero in the real world, which obviously we're going to talk about later. We're going to save the major characters for last of the character, talk. Then we have the, oh yeah, you know what? There were two characters I missed. The apple juice and orange juice people, who obviously love what they rather prefer. Which, yeah, they obviously prefer their own tastes and stuff, and that's really it about those people. So yeah, within that realm, we have those people. And then, we also have the, actually, I think that's, well, there was that one leaf guy, but I didn't really talk to him, or the garbage slash leaf guy, but yeah, he was out in the playground as well, again. So yeah, I think aside from that, let's go into the deep well. The deep well is another big part, well, obviously, but yeah, we start off with the last resort and meet up with characters like, we meet with the characters of the Gators, which are obviously, the people. And then obviously, kind of a bigger character, Mr. Jossum. We have... the Gator guys are already kind of cool and stuff and everything else, but the alligators... But Mr. Jossum is a interesting character because he's a loan shark, basically. But he obviously has huge business and stuff. And obviously he's got contracts that he very much supports, and we obviously have a fight with him. But yeah, he's a really cool looking shark, and he holds over the kind of like capitalism in the business world within the deep well, and he's just a pretty cool guy. There really isn't much talk about him, but we know that he loves his members, especially Hero and I guess Pluto. But basically, Pluto and him being two of his best employees, and then Obviously, his substantialist against Kel and well, no, just Kel. Aside from Aubry, who's really kind of in the middle, and Sunny, who didn't sign a contract, or more Omori, who didn't sign a contract. Um, so I think aside from that point, we have we've got some. I think really that's it for the last resort. There was those ghost people, but obviously we didn't talk to them till the chill episode of this series. So yeah, there's that, and I think from that point we then have the next then we have the next section, which is the underwater highway, consisting of, you know, the bike gang leaders and stuff. There really wasn't much about them, but obviously the bike gang leaders, they seem, I can't remember what they kind of were, but yeah, it's really kind of it for them. We then have the return of the space pirates, but they're instead in the submarine watching Captain Spaceboy sing his sadness out. We had the Gator guys again, but this time they're toll pickers who obviously are there to just take everything from you, or take all of your money from you, so that's hilarious. There's also those scammers and stuff, especially the rotten milk, which I got scammed 500 clams out, so that's hilarious. Then we've got the, I think that's really kind of it. We then have the deeper well creatures that tell a very important stuff about that tells very important stuff about the kind of what the deeper well does, which is obviously for the story part. And then we have Humphrey, who we fight, and I will say this: I do not consider Humphrey the final fight. Gameplay or story, Humphrey to me is not the final fight. But we've got but yeah, Humphrey, he's a big whale, and obviously he eats, you know, he needs his meals, obviously, and he holds kind of like his own labs due to the slime girls, or the sea witches, or the sea waifus. But yeah, the sea waifus and stuff. But yeah, he's a big whale. He's got a interesting laugh, which is knack knack knack, like a narwhal, and he's a, yeah, he obviously gets a little ahead of himself, tries to eat us, and obviously we stop him from doing that by hitting his uvula from his part, which was really just a one-shot kind of ordeal. And yeah, Humphrey then goes to sleep, I guess. Yeah, because we're stronger than Humphrey. Flex those muscles. When we flex, we feel our best, guys. Remember that. But yeah, we have Humphrey, the giant whale, or the whale. Yeah. So I think, and then up next really is nothing else but the sea girls. So yeah, the sea girls are the sea witches who conduct their experiments and stuff. Marina has quite a bit that's talked about her, especially her, you know, her creations when she was younger and older. Obviously creating some of the most terrifying things, and making things that are just, god damn, Jesus Christ. I don't want to be near Marina at all. But yeah, we have Marina of the sea witches that is there to craft the things. Then we have Molly, who is much more into science and stuff and robotics and stuff, which is understandable, which is her kind of favorite things to do. And obviously we have Molly, who, well, yeah, okay, we just discussed Molly. And then we have Medusa, which is basically the youngest sister, while Molly is the older sister, who does things with chemicals a lot. She's a very chemical person, which is how she made Perfect Heart, because she's just badass. She's just a badass, you know. She's like that. Even if I like Molly's design most, and Molly I think looks the cutest in my opinion. But I think kind of like aside from that, Medusa, she's the youngest. She's also seemingly the calm one out of the group. And yeah, that's kind of like the sea waifus on their own. And then we obviously fight the sea waifus. Um, they're interesting. I expected the fight to be between to be three of them to be solo kind of people to attack, which was definitely going to be pretty scary if that was the case, and I feel like it's kind of a missed opportunity. But Omocat probably did not want to plan for a vicious fight in the story, so yeah, that makes sense, I guess. But yeah, that's their kind of deal, and I guess one of them, one of them grabs a chainsaw and attacks us with it. Aside from that, what's interesting is that this is not on the sunny route because you fight them on the sunny route, or let's say the sunny slash Omori route. You fight them on the sunny slash Omori route, or no. We're just gonna say the sunny route, and then but in the Hikikomori route, I guess you help them out and stuff. You help out and you can do tasks for them and stuff. They've got side quests, which is cool. Which I think you learn more about them that way. Which obviously I'll do on my own through my playthrough. Through another time when I feel like I need to play this game more. Which obviously, side note, I am good right now from this game. I've already experienced so much from it. I'm gonna use this break as of now to enjoy what I know of the game. But yeah, that's really the sea waifus, and they meet their doomed fate from Humphrey. Yeah. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, I think those are the minor characters from this point. I think next up is what I believe is the major characters now that we know of. Which is now, let's start off with Hero. So Hero is interesting because Hero seemingly was like the lover, or was like had a crush on Marie and stuff. They really liked each other and stuff. But obviously, things did not bode well for him on the side. But it's like with the happy things. Well, we gotta talk about all things, so it really doesn't matter what way I put them in the order. But basically, with Hero, he basically basically kind of like the words and covers is that he was between two sides at his age of 15 years old, which his parents wanted to be a doctor, but the best friends wanted to thought that he'd be a great cook, to follow his dreams. But obviously, when Marie died, he kind of dropped that whole cooking thing, and he decided to work on a doctor. So he took the time to basically, while he was depressed, he failed through the time of just working through on college and stuff to do all sorts of things. And yeah, that was kind of his point during that time. But yeah, he went for that. He went forward to do the doctor job that his parents have told him that he could be. But because of that, and his depression, he kind of spouted out a lot of stuff a lot of mean things towards Kel. And at that point, this is where another thing for the parents kind of comes through, is the whole kind of deal that Kel shows coldness towards his parents, because he always felt that the parents were favored towards Hero's achievements, instead of noting what Kel wanted to do most in his time, in his life, what he liked most. And obviously, because they put that responsibility and that burden on Hero so much, that he decided to do what he felt would make his parents most happiest, instead of what would make him most happiest. So, truly speaking, that was definitely one of the most that was definitely kind of something that Hero stumbled upon, and he did what he thought his parents were most happiest for. But even then, I feel like he still gets those feelings of everyone telling him that he would be a good cook at that part. And, within kind of that speedy dial, when he comes back to save Sunny and Basel due to Sunny planning, going on to help Basel from being pushed from Aubry. Obviously, Sunny, who is afraid of drowning, we'll get onto that sooner or later. But yeah, he comes in to help, and and obviously, him kind of, asking about how Sunny's obviously been through his years of just. Well, yeah, Sunny will be probably the last character to talk about because there's so much on Sunny's plate, dude. Holy hell. But yeah, there's kind of a Sunny's, whole dear point. But yeah, within that point, we have Hero basically. He's also kind of a tall, and he's a very, he's very, he's a very fair person. He tries to dispute both sides as fast as he can. Tries to show how much that the group is. He's a great leader, kind of, and he typically is, he fits that role really well. But obviously, that's not the character we're playing as. And I think from that point towards, we then have what else is there to talk about Hero? I think really kind of in the end, people assume that Hero would be the hardest to accept Sunny's or to forgive Sunny, but honestly, I think that's up for debate. So yeah, through speaking, I think that's really kind of the major points of Hero. Aside from that, he is the healer, he is the weakest damaging character, hilarious enough, I think. He's the weakest damaging character, but he is also the healer, so it's really good that you try to keep Hero as your healer for most of the points, and he's just a very, good supportive class. So yeah, that's Hero. So I think the next character to discuss about is Aubry. Aubry is an interesting one because within kind of the whole effect of the effect of Marie's death really hit her hard as well. I think she's definitely one of the the three most hard-hitting characters. Yeah, I think more than Kel and Hero. I think it's actually obvious for Kel, so yeah. But anyway, so we're talking about Aubry here. So, Aubry, she got hit really hard because she went through kind of just a lot of problems, and her dad left her. Her mother's basically in a stance where she just says nothing, and Aubry just goes out to do whatever outside to make the happiest of her things. But you can tell she's not very happy. Especially when Sunny comes back to the outside world. When Sunny kind of comes around, you can tell that whole kind of deal of her, her smack talk in the kind of at the first chapter to eventually kind of this whole this this whole denial kind of thing, and this having this weird just time, believing that Sunny came through, questioning why he came back, why he's here around the worst times. But yeah, Aubry obviously went through kind of a lot, but she's also definitely one of the most intriguing characters. Typically speaking, I'm not gonna get down to this much, but it's obvious that Sunny and Aubry had a little bit of kind of a heartfelt kind of thing between the two when they were younger. Obviously, there's not much to talk about there, but obviously for those people of the sunburn fandom, you know, you creepos, you sickos, you know, like just like be like me, you know, person who totally, you know, doesn't name like 3 videos after a ship, you know, totally doesn't do that, you know, be like me, you know. But yeah, obviously, Sunny had a crush on Aubrey, and I think Aubrey had a crush on Sunny. Yeah, and now we don't know if that'll happen, or maybe it'll end up coming back as a resonance, and who knows? That is up for theories and stuff, if there is no Omori too. But yeah, so aside from that, Aubrey, obviously, kind of a more stubborn person, I think. No, no. But yeah, not really. But yeah, Aubrey, definitely kind of like the mixed match. Hold has her favorite color being probably one of my 2 favorite colors. Pink. I love pink so much. I love pink and red. And yeah, she's definitely the she's a hard-hitting character. She's a hard head. She's definitely a fighter, but even though she has a baseball with nails in it, jeez Louise, slugger. But yeah, that's kind of, you know, the whole, you know, preference between her and her stuff. But she's also a very kind of, you know, she's a very, you know, keep encourage and keep yourself out of the mud kind of character, I would say. Unless I could be super wrong there. But, you know, she just strikes as this very, you know, she strikes as this, god damn it, what is there to say else, dude? I guess she does think, I guess she really kind of strikes as this character as this, you know, she'll do her best to stick for people, and you know, she does her best to fight for those, and she tries not to make mistakes as much as she, you know, does. Obviously pushing Basil on accident, and you know, she obviously needs that kind of that help and attention because she felt so lonely, because she definitely wants to help there and be there for people, and you know, she just does well to be in that spot. And aside from that, I think really she's just this helpful, and she worries about many people. Um, and so in terms of that, now we have battle style. She is a tank. She is a tank, and she's a hard hitter. She can do so much damage, and obviously people had that whole headbutt gimmick, which I didn't use. Instead, I used the Chad counter strat because Omori is a DPS machine. But yeah, I use the counter strat with her a lot, and yeah, she's a hard hitter. She does a lot of damage, obviously, like I said, and she's while I don't think she has the best follow-up moves, particularly speaking, she's much more she is a very power-heavy character in the game. So yeah, that's Aubrey, I would say. I think that is Aubrey, definitely. But next up, we have Kel. This is my favorite. This is, I think, one of my 2 favorite characters in the game. I love Kel. Kel, he is definitely a sporty dude, and he definitely took it. He definitely kind of took through the Marie stuff like a man. And while there definitely was those depressing parts, the really kind of depressing parts was between him and his family and Hero. But still, then he was probably super sad to hear of Marie's death, obviously. But he handled it the best, I would say. The dude while the dude was definitely not showative of it, of, you know, his feelings, he made new friends to go ahead and try to repress, I would suppose, or try to hide away those things, to try to get over it, you know. Yeah, let's say get over it, because I don't think he would try to repress it. But yeah, that was kind of what he did to try to get out through his way. And through in that particular piece, we have we got the yeah, so we have basically in the space world, he's big, kind of like, well, you know what, nah, because there's not really much to talk about in the Headspace world, I would say. But he basically kind of is a troublemaker, you know. Kel is a troublemaker, obviously within the whole Jossum and Gator deal, and you know he loves his dog Hector, which obviously is displayed as a rock in the Headspace. But yeah, he's a troublemaker, but he's always there to raise the spirit of the group. You know, he is always a happy guy, and the fact that he was there to try to get Sunny out of his house, to show up in the world. Like if like if it weren't for him, you know, Sunny probably wouldn't have shown up in the first place. But yeah, I think really kind of aside from that, Sunny coming through within that, and Kel coming in to get Sunny out of his house, which helped out really well, and yeah, that was really kind of it within that point. Kel is also definitely the sporty type. He helped out in a lot of he was trying out for the basketball team, or he just trying out for the basketball team, and stuff. And you know, he's a very sport fella dude. He also grew tall. I think he used to be the shortest, and now he is supposedly the second tallest. Yeah, he's the second tallest of the group. And with him helping out he definitely kind of comes through, and he comes out clutch for most of people. Now, he definitely has he definitely had a moment where, when you put a lot of think about, he definitely should not have done this, but instead of going through and, you know, complaining to Aubry what she did at the lake, he decides that it would be a good idea for Sunny to go ahead and save Basel as a person who can't really swim. And that really was kind of trouble because Sunny nearly died in that case. However, Sunny persisted, and there is some bright side to it. Sunny became not afraid of drowning, so I think that's a good thing to, you know, I think that's good to know. But yeah, I think from that point we then kind of have his whole, you know, articulate. He's still this hyper, you know, he's still this kind of happy like guy, and he shows us a lot of stuff, you know. And aside from that, he's he is also the infamous kind of ordeal of every Kel meme is canon, because he seems like that guy who would just do everything. Like, he just would do everything. He's so realistic and so hilarious in his own thing, and, you know, he's done a lot for the gang, and it's really helpful. And I think from that point, Kel's just this really, you know, he really was kind of like the spirit and, you know, the starting point of the group getting back together, for the crew. Obviously, it started with Sunny and Kel, and eventually Basil, I would say. But yeah, that Kel was just a super, you know, helpful dude. And if it weren't for him, I think the whole group would just be screwed. So yeah, I think from that point on, is there more to say about Kel? Oh yeah, there's definitely more to say about Kel. Well, yeah, definitely a little bit more. Let's talk about the gameplay-wise that Kel's port classes. Basically, Kel is kind of I would say the neutral class kind of character. He he doesn't really, he can either power himself up or power other people up, but he can also do a lot of damage. And his follow-up attacks are probably the best in the game. They do a lot of damage. They're basically a replacement for Hero being the healer class, and overall he does some of the most phenomenal damage, and he helps out a lot. While his health is extremely low, so he gets kind of like tapped, he is a damage outspec. He's kind of a neutral outspec because he fits both realms super well, supportive and offensive. So yeah, that's Kel. Yeah, my favorite character, or one of my two favorite characters in the game. Yeah, Kel is awesome. So before we continue on, I think this is marked for the longest closing thoughts so far on this channel. So yeah, but yeah, the next part on here is the next character that we should discuss about is Basel. Basel is interesting because Basel is what I kind of joked about this while in editing process in my head, but in the end point of the game, when Basel basically goes insane, I kind of thought about him of this, this blonde hair Nagito kind of ordeal. And obviously he's not Nagito, but he goes to that same point and says some shit that is definitely not for the heart and definitely not normal. But yeah, Basel. He's one of the two most affected characters in the game, but I wouldn't say as much affected as one of the other characters. But basically, um, he was basically Sunny's best friend and stuff. He's also like a fan favorite in this game, which I don't know how I feel about that because typically speaking, a lot of the stuff that he does is a little annoying. Yeah, it's he's not really one of my more favorite characters. I think he's okay. I think he's a good character, but definitely not. I would not put him high up on my list. Actually, no, I'll say this. Probably the weakest of the 6 major characters. Yeah, that's how I feel. But yeah, Basel. He loves garden work. He loves plants. He loves nature. He's all about that. He's also Sunny's best friend, and I think from the photos he generally tries to get Sunny to read books and stuff, to get things to work, to get him to read a lot more. And obviously he was a supporter of Sunny's kind of like violin stuff, which obviously for a character like Basel, we had we obviously have, you have Kel doing his thing, and you have Basel doing his thing, which is a major plot part. But Basel basically decided it would be a good idea to hang Marie's corpse to look like it was a suicide. Instead of doing something like calling the police or lying about it, even though lying is not good either. But in a situation like that, lying is definitely the one thing that will pop up in your mind. The last thing that will pop up in the first mind when something like that happens is the feeling of having to confess. And unless you're super strong mentally, that will likely not happen, especially in the age of 12-year-olds. So yeah, obviously that is not the smartest idea. And the other deal is the Basel is definitely kind of like the shyer character in that sense. He is a big on using his camera and his photographs, and the photographs are super important to the story as well. And he asks for forgiveness, of Sunny, obviously. I think it's for the whole part of hanging Marie, because that was not the smartest idea. But yeah. He loves his camera a lot, so obviously that's kind of his shtick. And he he's definitely a big part because, generally speaking, because he played that huge part in Marie's in that whole ordeal of Marie's death. Um, yeah, it comes down to the point where he he can't handle anymore and is thinking about committing suicide because he has put away. So when you go ahead to try to save Baysal, he's lost his mind. He he's insane. He's gone insane. So basically, in that point, when Sunny tries to stop him from trying to kill himself and stop him from just doing something rash, which it doesn't matter because he definitely does something rash even when you're trying to save him. Basically, he goes insane, and the something, which she's one of the two characters that have a something. Um, he he decides that when he thinks that something killed instead of when Sunny. When something killed Marie, um, he decides to try to battle it and stop it when really the one person that he was inflicting pain on was Sunny. So basically, what he probably would have ended up doing if it weren't for Sunny fighting back was he probably, in the short stick of it, he probably would have killed Sunny and eventually kill himself. Now, there's obviously things that could happen, like a murder-suicide, or Sunny's death, and like the gang probably woke up to it, and them spotting Basil. That could be a thing of them spotting Basil with garden shears of Sunny's death or Sunny's corpse. But obviously that's not what obviously that's not what happened. But you ended up fighting him, and you've got hands, and he's got garden shears, and obviously, your experience is definitely more painful than his. Like, he's got a black eye and stuff, stuff that's like not really too painful. Maybe like a broken nose and stuff, and much more pain marks. But it's two children fighting each other, or it's two 16-year-olds fighting each other. And like, well, it's so basically the result is that they're both knocked out and the ambulance is called, but not without Sunny losing his right eye, which definitely was yeah. Basil did that. He stabbed Basil. He stabbed Sunny's eye out. So that's definitely shocking. But yeah. So they're both knocked out, and obviously, Basil still asking for forgiveness in this kind of the state, And in the end, Basil is eventually relieved of what happens in the ending, which I obviously will go over it in the character/story aspect that will soon happen once we move after this next character, which is next up is Marie. Yeah. Marie was definitely a setting point for the characters because she and Sunny were there from the beginning, obviously, because, well, Sunny and Marie are brothers and siblings, more so. And basically, what happened, obviously, which I will get down to his character. Marie died, and that set up this whole heroic facade between all the between all the other 5 characters, especially Sunny. And typically, she was definitely the main stage of the group. She was there for everyone when they needed help most. And obviously, Marie being this perfectionist and this piano player, and pushing Sunny to hopefully become an amazing violinist. I don't even think that's a word. A violin player. Obviously, it was much pressure to that point, and as soon as before the recital, Marie died. She lost the stairs, and the pizza was there. So basically, Marie's death grew and sort of really hit the people hard, and really kind of afterwards in that point, uh, Marie was very much having relations with Hero and like Sunny. She was she encouraged everyone to move through and do and have a good life. And really, in the end, her death really kind of it threw everything in the air for all these people, for everyone else. But through speaking, she was this very helpful person, and she was just there for everyone. And while I definitely can't say much more about Marie, other than the fact that her death being associated with the piano and the window, and her being the something behind Sunny, it's definitely one of the most depressing parts, because that's something that's following you around is basically Marie, or what you saw of Marie, and really kind of afterwards of that part, we had one of the most depressing moments in the game that involved her death. So yeah, that's basically what that was. So before I actually no, I think it'd be better to continue on that. But yeah, aside from that, that's really kind of Marie. There really was not much, because in the real world, as much as you talk about a lot, there's nothing she really does in the real world after, or in the current outside world. So yeah, that's all I could say about Marie, unfortunately. But yeah, so really kind of through in that point, I am going to change up the music for this next part, because the next ordeal is gonna be it's gonna be big. Alright, so start here. So now let us get on to let's get on to the biggest character I think that this game obviously holds. The main character, kind of one side villain protagonist, the other side silent protagonist, who truly is the main protagonist. Sunny slash Omori. So yeah, this will come in falling for the story, but the story obviously is raised around white space, head space, black space, the death of Marie, and basically is a overcoming story of you following Sunny through his suicidal depression. And his depression is so bad, and like it almost gets to him. But it gets to him in like three of the endings, or no, two of the endings. While one ending typically is not like that, and basically what it is for him is that he is there to try to he's there to basically, god damn it, I lost myself in my words because I got towards a part that was closed off, or a path that was closed off. But basically, Sunny is the involvement of Marie's death. Sunny accidentally pushed her off the stairs, and thus Marie died, probably due to a head injury. And basically that set off his depression, and obviously he's been living in for white space for what seems to be 4 years, because he became a hikikomori basically under that aspect. He stopped coming to school, and yeah, the story kind of like spacing through of Sunny's kind of depression and stuff. It's truly horrifying, and it's truly depressing for someone to go through it like this. And to make matters worse, the person in his dreams, Omori, sought to keep it that way forever. And basically, with Omori sending Bazel locked in black space so that he could hide away and stop showing and keep the repression going, so that Sunny doesn't remember doesn't fully remember of what happened that day before the recital, or the day where the recital was supposed to happen. So yeah, through that experience, Sunny went through one of the most traumatic experiences of his life. Was the most traumatic experience of his life so far, and that especially is sent with regard is when he has and well, basically now it becomes a story of us trying to get of us seeing where Sunny goes from this point. Because with Sunny moving out in 3 days from the start, Kel coming in to see if Sunny will come out. Kel, like I said, ends up getting Sunny out of his house, and Sunny sees the outside world that it is, and obviously starting off with the encounter of Aubry as well, which Sunny, who has a knife, and uses it mainly because Aubry, no, mainly because Sunny was stuck in his world for so long, and that when he did the thing, he was so used to it that he basically, attacked Aubry with a knife. Now, sure, Aubry started it, but obviously it's not right. But yeah, Kel obviously scolds him for it. But yeah, obviously it is then eventually kind of dropped about. So when the next part of the ordeal is that with kind of every moment in Headspace that's scattered everyone to that scattered like everyone to basically talk to each other, like space everyone to okay, no, they spaced important moments in Headspace to relive in Sunny's dreams, as in the good times, and kind of the whole ordeal. But yeah, when Sunny having to kind of relive those points, and him having to go through his biggest phobias, which he overcame, and then eventually Marie's death, which he started to get better at it. He started to actually see the bigger picture and try to forgive himself and not have everything just bad happen to him from that point on. So when Sunny is there facing off When Sunny is there facing off his demons and stuff, he eventually is there to get kind of like he's there to simply he is eventually having to face himself in this kind of deal, and is soon having to, realize that he will eventually need to forgive himself. And obviously, let's take a quick point in here. Sunny, obviously discovered, is more of a modest, simple guy. He is, basically, you're there, he's there to, enlist of, he's there to enlist, no, I'm stumbling upon my words so much. But, yeah, basically, shit. Yeah, he is, okay, he is that person he's the normal odds of the group, and he was the first two that kind of started it, really. But basically, obviously, I've kind of talked about him a lot throughout in the other people, like him and Aubry and stuff. But Marie and him, obviously Marie was this cool big sis who, throughout in his dreams, or throughout in his times and his, his exaggerations, it is seemingly if Marie is still watching over him to try to get him to, to pass through life like as if normal, because to get him to forgive himself, to get him through this trauma, and to eventually to admit and confess his sin and confess what really happened down of Marie's death. So yeah, her being there for him to truly like help him out in the situations like that, so that he could, so that he could get out of that hellhole. Obviously, Omori, though, is still there trying to stop it so that he can gain full control. And to the point where Basel ends up nearly killing him when he's trying to stop Basel, when he's trying to save him. So, yeah. And Basel already doing some stupid shit by deciding that it would be a good idea to hang Marie's corpse. So, yeah. Within that, Sunny is there to. So yeah, afterwards, when when it comes down to it, after seeing Omori rule Black Space, this place that holds Basel, that tortures Basel, that kills Basel over and over, it's finally down to the point where once Sunny starts to see his friends in the light that they are in now, it's time for him to truly get out of that stoic, that horrifying thing that's been, or that expressionless face that's been on his face. It is time for him to truly, bloom. And, in this case, cry about it. Cry about his problems. And cry about what really happened. And so, within that case, obviously now it comes down to the final fight of the game. What I would say is the final fight of the game, no matter what. Omori. Basically, Omori is a lesson in self-awareness. He's a lesson in teaching. He teaches basically that you can't really get rid of your guilt as normally. It truly takes time to it will take time to truly get that away. He won't be gone fast, He'll still be around, but eventually in the end, when Sunny is finally overcoming his demons, when he finally gets that encouragement from everyone, he is there kicking ass. And even though he doesn't defeat Omori by beating the shit out of him, no, he defeats Omori by playing what he should have played, that recital that happened. and he knocks it out of the ballpark in his brain, and in the end, because of that performance, because of that, it is then revealed to Omori that Sunny does not need him anymore. It's time for Sunny to move on. It's time for Sunny to tell the truth. And that is what has truly, and that is obviously what brings us down to the final moments of the game. Omori's confession, or no, Sunny's confession. We don't know what happens afterwards, but what we do know is that something eventually is gone. The guilt is eventually starting to, evaporate from Sunny and Basel's shoulders. We'll just say mainly Sunny's. And, within that, in that secret cutscene, which shows, obviously the rarest thing in the game, a smile from Sunny. And, really, it is one of the most beautiful parts and most depressing parts of the game, and the story really just kind of puts through on that point. So yeah, while we have Sunny, let's discuss more about the story. Sunny has been living in white space for so long. He's been living in his headspace for so long that, when it's finally come through to the outside world, he is kind of, something awakens in him that kind of pushes him to, get farther into it, because he eventually opens the door, because he eventually comes back outside to open the door again, to go ahead and, meet with Kel again after the first day. And on the second day they're back, Hero comes back, and that day, Sunny goes ahead to invites them to spending the night. Well, it wasn't really his idea, but Hero and Kel provide the idea, and Sunny accepts it. And during that prominence, Sunny does what he does, and as time goes on, it's seemingly knowing to Omori that his time may be running out. Sunny may try to eventually get out there to remember of what happened and eventually confess of what happened. So yeah, within that point, it's made current that Omori is now trying to put a stop to this entirely, to try to keep the repression from going on. But from that point on, we then get on to black space. And instead of what I supposedly hear of is a reset button, it's really kind of it's really just a showcasing of what Omori truly is, and that's the ruler of black space, the main antagonist, or the villain protagonist more so, which now becomes the antagonist. And yeah, that's kind of that. From that point, we get onto black space, which is basically the horror kind of craft of the headspace. Black space is this horrifying place, and it truly is a scary place. It showcases just mind fuckings and repeated deaths and messages within it, and trying to make you do stuff like try to cut your cat open, which you can entirely skip, which is awesome. So yeah. And through within that, it then gets on to this next kind of extremity, which is the depressing reveal of the game of Marie's death being, in fact, an actual murder and not a suicide. More so an accidental murder. Something that Sunny did not try to do. Instead, what Sunny tried to do was get Marie away from him, so that, he could, because Sunny was receiving so much pressure that he broke his violin in a fit of rage, and he was just annoyed, And like generally speaking, Marie came in to question him get him, and Sunny he just couldn't handle that much, so he pushed Marie. But he accidentally did not mean to push Marie to her death, and that truly fucked him over because he did not want to believe Marie died, and that, and within that point it hit him hard, and he just could not handle it as much. So then it is truly sealed within the deal that Sunny is now trying to persevere to push through what has been haunting him so long from these mistakes that he's been running away. It does so well in the story because the story paces so well with it, and the story just shows you it's basically kind of a story of redemption, a story of redeeming yourself, and a story of pushing through limits you didn't think you would be able to push through. And it truly shows that in the end, mistakes are what make people happy, or well, mistakes are what make people people. Mis- just because you've done a bad thing doesn't mean you're a bad person. Sure, that's subjective because accidental murder or like doing things like breaking a law, like robbing a store, you just either you might have had a reason for that. But obviously, can't say much because that's a very controversial topic, and so yeah, but in Sunny's case, it is definite that Sunny truly did not mean to do this. It's truly sad to see him go through all this pain, but it's truly is satisfying as fuck, and truly makes you happy for him in the best ending of the game. So yeah, I'm also the good ending. But yeah. So afterwards, yeah. That is, I guess, really kind of like the story's main and kind of prejudice, and Sunny as of a whole. Overall, I will not. I think with that, that's really it. Um, I truly think this is one of the most heart-wrenching games ever, and I truly felt like I had a journey with this game. And while I don't give games ratings, I think I eventually will put up a rating of how I feel about these games in the future that I've played throughout my time. But overall, I I loved it. I loved Omori. Really enjoyed this game. And I think so far it has been the best game I've played this year. I like I think like last year it came out last year but I didn't play it last year. And like I played something like Ghost of Tsushima, which I considered my game of the year. And to see like Omori just give you this sharp feeling of like it just it puts you in a place where it's truly shocking to see all these characters feel so realistic. It it reminds me of many points and many things that could happen that are somewhat just so similar to this game. There's so many things that could happen in the game in the real world, and that this game shows it very well. The sombristic music also does well with it. The art design is beautiful. The characters, the gameplay is, and I mean the story is one of the best that I've kind of went through. I'm so glad this game turned out so good. And as much as it did not receive huge reception as something like Undertale when Undertale came out, it truly is a game. It truly is an experience. It's more than a game. It's just it's an experience. It is like I feel like I truly had something really I had something just resonate kind of while I was playing through this game. You know, what could I do to prevent things like this happening in my life? What I could do to prevent something horrifying that could give me this much trauma, you know. And generally, through speaking, it's it's tough. It's tough to get through stuff like this, especially in a case like this. It's super tough. I can't imagine where someone would just accidentally murder someone that they didn't want to murder and feel like it was nothing. And like, it's a possibility. But I feel like whittling it down to someone they didn't want to murder and they accidentally murdered it, I feel like there's a very, 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 very low chance of someone actually wanting that. Because in the end, they didn't care if they wanted that person to die. They actually did not care if that person died at all. If they didn't want that person to die, then they truly would have felt something horrifying if it was accidental murder. So yeah, um, truly, I dearly suggest this game, and I truly wish this game reaches everyone else's like top, game of the year lists. And overall, I think it is truly a touching game, and in the end, it is it's a fucking journey. It's a journey. It's a journey. It's yeah, that's it. Overall, Omori, I fucking love it. I love this game so much. I want to play more of it, but I want to wait it out until like I feel the need to play it again. And I think we're done with this. In the end, thank y'all so much for coming by to this lovely day. Um, the next video will not be a playthrough video. But I do know what the next playthrough is gonna be. And yeah, thank y'all so much for coming by. Peace, peeps.